let's start up at the top with something. So now we're talking about, what is and is not appropriate for kids, and the rules that we have sort of societally. Sometimes these are enforced by law, sometimes they're not, but sometimes it's just sort of like societal law, social law. The first thing I want to talk about is swear words. This is a thing that I've wanted to do like a whole episode on for a long time, just because my whole life I've always thought it was kind of funny. I've never really understood it. I was raised Mormon, and I was raised in a house where we did not swear. And I was raised in a church where you did not swear. Mormons don't swear. And nobody in my community swore. Nobody in my neighborhood swore. Kids swore, and we definitely heard our parents swear from time to time, but it was always agreed upon that, like, you don't snitch on your parents. You don't let other adults know that your parents swear when they're trying to fix the sprinklers. And you don't, but you do tell on other kids when you go like, oh, I was over at Ryan's house and he said the S word. And sometimes if you're like a little shitty kid, you will do that. But like, yeah, it was all this like secret stuff, secret bad words that we're not supposed to say. And from the time I was a little kid, I did not understand it. Nobody could articulate to me what the difference between fuck and frick was, or fuck and frig was. And I couldn't get it. I couldn't understand in my head why there was a difference between me saying like funk and being like, this is funkin' dumb, and saying fucking dumb. It seemed so stupid to me as a child, and it still seems stupid to me as an adult, that like there are words that are inappropriate for kids to hear or to say, and that like full on fucking grown ass adults will be like, I don't say those words still. Like when I meet, if you're older than 20 years old and you don't say swear words, I think you're a fucking idiot. I think you're really immature and dumb, and you're still like sticking to a rule that like you should have realized a long time ago was a stupid rule. And that like nobody is like applying fairly, and that nobody can articulate fairly. I did do a little like research on Wikipedia. Ever heard of it? I looked at like different websites, but then I just was like, Wikipedia has like the easiest thing to sort of track the etymology of like where profanity comes from. And I had my suspicions. I was like, without even researching, where would I think the idea that there are certain words that you can't say would come from? And I would think that it has roots in religion, and maybe like being taught that there is a way to speak that makes you closer to God. At least that's how it was taught to me. The way that it was articulated to me by the adults in my community when I did have a problem with like, why can't I say certain words, was like, there are certain words that don't invite the Holy Spirit. There are certain words that don't allow you to be reverent and to be a vessel for the Holy Spirit to be present. So there's certain kind of language that you use that God does not like. Again, like, and I was like, fine, as a little kid, like, fine, I don't want to offend God and I don't want to send the Holy Spirit away. But like, you're telling me that the omnipotent creator of the universe, who has more knowledge than is even conceivable, who possesses more knowledge than the entirety of all of human knowledge for the entire history of mankind. Like, this being knows more about the inner workings of the universe than you could possibly even conceive of in your little pea brain human mind. And this being's also like, I don't like it when people cuss. This being's like, please don't say shit. If you could please say shiz instead, I would feel much more comfortable being here. If you could say heck instead of hell, that would make me feel more comfortable. But like, that would be my guess. Without even researching, I would guess it has some roots in some dumb like religion thing. But that's apparently true. I'm going to read to you just what Wikipedia said and like take it with a grain of salt, and you can do your own research if you want. Wikipedia said the term profane originates from classical Latin. Profanus, it's spelled with anus on the end of it. I like that. Profanus. I've got a pain in my profanus. Literally means before, or in parentheses, outside the temple. Pro meaning outside, and fanum meaning temple or sanctuary. The term profane carried the meaning of either desecrating what is holy or with a secular purpose as early as the 1450s. So this is sort of what I suspected, is that like This was religion creating a stranglehold over certain words to say that like there are certain words that make you closer to God and certain words that make you further away from God. And then of course this all bled into social classism, where it was like a person who is secular, a person who is removed from God and shows that they are with the language that they use and with their willingness to profane and to use profane language and to use cuss words and curse words. That person is showing that they are of a lower class. This becomes like, if you are of a higher class and of a higher status, you would speak in a more godly way. You would speak in a way that is closer to God. Again, a silly God who is capable of creating and destroying life and matter and planets, but somehow thinks that the word like, asshole is like icky. but yeah. So this is one of those things that, again, I don't know at what age it's appropriate for a kid to start saying swear words or hearing swear words. I just know that like I was hearing swear words pretty much my whole life, even from adults who were like not supposed to be saying them. I was hearing them on TV. I was hearing other kids say them. And it was like this secret thing for a very long time, for longer than I would have liked it to be. Even until I was like in my mid-20s, I didn't swear around my family. I didn't swear around the adult members of my family because I didn't want to upset them. And it was only in the last like 5-6 years that I started being like, fuck it. If you guys want to be around me, you're going to have to like grow up about this a little bit. I won't swear around your kids, but like you need to be adults when you hang out with me and deal with the fact that all of you swear. And I've heard all of you swear. I've heard swear words come out of all of your mouths. So zip your fucking self-righteous lip and grow up and grow up and admit that like we all swear and that like your kids swear too. And you've told your kids not to swear before. And that's weird. That's a thing where like no one can accurately describe to me why kids shouldn't be swearing. So I have a problem with it. What I can get on board with when it comes to bad words and which words people shouldn't say are slurs and words that are offensive and harmful to marginalized people and communities. That's a rule that can be described to me and explained to me in a way where I can go, oh, I get that. I get how when I use the N slur, I am wielding historic systemic power and calling back to historic systemic racial power and saying, I'm going to use this word knowing that this word was used to subjugate and create a lower social class of person for this group of people. And I'm going to wield this word in a way to draw up that pain and that harm. I don't need to use that word. That word has no practical usage for me in day-to-day life outside of being harmful or just being sort of shit-headed, like being just kind of an idiot. I don't need to use that word. I don't need to use pretty much any slur, the R slur, the F slur. I don't need to use ableist language or language that is actively harmful or dehumanizing or degrading to intersections of people and subsections of people that are already historically marginalized and that already deal with a great deal of societal marginalization. I don't need to add to the social difficulty of being a person who lives life as a disabled person or lives life with a learning disability. I don't need to add to that struggle with my ignorant language. So that's a rule I can understand. And that's a rule that like, I also have no problem. Like when someone does use the R slur, whenever someone, in the comments of one of my videos says like, this guy's and they say the R word, I instantly am like, yeah, you're telling me something about yourself. You're telling me something about yourself that you're careless and reckless with your language in a way that says you don't care about doing harm to other people with your language. Now you could make the same argument that like people who are religious might feel harmed by me saying the F word. Again, I go into like, but we need to go into why. Where did they learn that me saying the F word is bad? Even though it's a word that like, I know they've heard before. And I know that like they've probably said before and that people in their family have said before. The pastor at their church has probably said that word before. So like, where did you hear that word was bad? And how is that word doing harm to you? Does that word have some sort of historic systemic power over you? Is it a word that was used to subjugate you in some way and you reclaimed it after years of effort and now you would like to keep it for your own and keep it from the people who are using it to oppress you? No? Is it just something that somebody at church told you is a bad word and that if it offends God, and now that I have a hard time respecting that rule. And just like I said at the beginning, like that's a hard rule for me to get down with. Let's keep moving. We got more of these to move through. I think that makes sense on words. I still don't have an answer of how we adequately determine when it's okay for kids to use certain words. I do think that a lot of this goes down to parents. Like, parents need to be better at being honest with their kids and talking to their kids about like why this language might be harmful or why this language might not be suitable for this environment. So even if you live in a household where you're okay with your kids swearing from time to time, you might tell them, hey, if you do that at school or if you do that when we're out to dinner with friends and family, they might not be as understanding of it as we might, and they might treat you different after that. And like giving it to them in a way where that maybe they can understand like, oh, there might be a social consequence to me using that language. I don't know.
Be the people pleasers, a fancy way of being alive. Trying to do and say the things that make everyone okay is a way